Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I leave the game shop and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good afternoon, listeners. It's a lovely day here in suburban Chicago. It's slightly overcast and we're having a gentle rain right now. So if you're hearing any watery noises, it's because I'm getting lightly rained on. It's not so bad that I can't walk home in it, although given the amount of rain I'm getting on my glasses, it may be a weird journey of squinting through rain-covered glasses. We'll see. So it seems like another opportunity to chat with you about games I've been playing. That's right, it's time for another Board Game Espresso Triple Shot. For those of you new to the podcast, Board Game Espresso Triple Shot is a first impressions review segment in which I go over 3 games that I've played recently for the first time and 1 game that I dusted off, and talk a little bit about the experience of playing them anew. Playing them brand new or replaying a game I haven't played in a while. That was awkward, but you understand what I'm talking about. So let's just jump right in. The first game I want to talk about came out at Gen Con this year. I did not pick it up. A friend of mine got it right around when it released and brought it over to play. This is Forbidden Jungle. Forbidden Jungle is the 4th game in the Forbidden series from Game Right Games and designer Matt Leacock. The first one being Forbidden Island, the second one being Forbidden Desert, the third one being Forbidden Sky, and then this new one, Forbidden Jungle. Now I will say I really like Forbidden Island as a game to teach people new to the genre about cooperative games, and I really like Forbidden Desert as a good mid-weight cooperative game with really interesting bits of luck and actually some thoughtful challenges to it. Forbidden Sky I was not as excited about. I found it pretty challenging and I didn't really enjoy the puzzle. I've only played it 2 or 3 times, but none of them really did it for me. And then we have Forbidden Jungle, the new one. Forbidden Jungle actually is a continuation of the 3-part story that began with Forbidden Desert. In Forbidden Desert, you crash your plane in a desert and you end up building an airship from pieces you find of a lost civilization in the desert. After you do that, you fly up and you land it or crash it on a sky platform, flying in the sky. And then after Forbidden Sky, you launch into outer space or something in a rocket, and then you crash that rocket in the jungle, which is Forbidden Jungle. As far as I know, Forbidden Island is not part of that story. Forbidden Jungle, like the other games, involves each player having a role, and each one of those roles coming with a special power that you can do. Involves using actions to maneuver in a particular way, to do simple tasks as well as move, and you have an overall goal of finding and assembling a thing and using that to get out of there. Basically, there's crisis management and action point selection. Forbidden Jungle uses an interesting kind of crisis management. It has a number of different types of enemies, and the enemies grow and advance over the course of the game. And so as you go along, those enemies get more and more troublesome, and you have to use actions to get rid of them. There are cards and technologies that will give you additional advantages to try to get rid of them. And so finding and using those cards and finding and using those technologies at the right time and in the right way is the key to success. We played the game twice. In the first game we lost. In the second game we did succeed, and we were playing on easy, I think. And it hit a lot of the same buttons that Forbidden Desert did. I think it certainly is on par with that one in terms of the interesting mechanisms, the interesting challenge in terms of figuring out where the thing you're looking for is, the escalating challenge and having to figure out how to react to it in a way that doesn't get you killed. Those things are all pretty great. I found it more comprehensible and more fun than Forbidden Sky, so that part of it was better. And though I've only played it the once, I would say I put Forbidden Jungle at number 3 in the series, or number 2 in the series after Forbidden Desert. Forbidden Island is still really good. It's just very, very light. So not a game I probably would play with other gamers over Forbidden Desert or Forbidden Jungle. Worth giving it a try if you have a chance. That's from Matt Leacock and publisher Gamerite Games. Next up, we have Woodcraft. Woodcraft is a game I was waiting eagerly for after Essen. It came out last year at Essen and got quite a bit of coverage from the various places that I like getting coverage from. It is another combo-tastic, engine building, manage your resources, scale up your turns game from Vladimir Suchy. Like the game before it, Messina 1347, this one Vladimir Suchy designed with another designer. I forget their name, my apologies. In this one, you are fairy tale woodworkers in the forest, growing and using wood to make different items, and then selling those items as part of contracts to get money and other resources. You develop your workshop by buying different tools and by building out different pieces of your workshop that gain you different elements. And all of those different pieces make you more efficient and more successful as you go along. There's a neat mechanism by which you manage your wood. You grow it in these pots or you buy it from the lumber yard, and you have to manage the size of the wood lumber pieces, and you can split them and join them and do this other stuff in order to get the lumber in the right size that you need it in order to do the different projects. The central action wheel is a key part of the game. There is an element of a rondel to it. It's not quite a rondel, but it's in the same neighborhood as a rondel, and it works pretty well that way. You know, all in all, this is another great Vladimir Suchy game. I really enjoyed it. I'd have to play it a few more times to figure out where it fits in the pantheon of these games. I think it feels more like something like Shipyard, or what would be another one that would feel like a good fit. This one doesn't have the central space that you're building in like you see in Praga or Underwater Cities or Pulsar 2849. It is more self-contained. It feels more like a return to Shipyard in terms of the way that you're managing your resources, the way that you're building up your own environment to amplify the use of those resources, and then looking for efficiency combos in the nature of the things that come out. The theme is fine. It's got this sort of cute art to it, and it holds together all right. Although there's an implication of like a magical fantasy world that isn't reflected really in the story that's being told with any dramatic need. It really is just an efficiency puzzle. But it's a really good one, and I enjoy it quite a bit. It probably lies somewhere in the neighborhood between Shipyard and Messina 1347, because Messina is one of those ones where you have a shared resource board that you're kind of fighting over with moving your pieces to take things, and there is some of that here where you are trying to get the resources that your opponents might want. The action wheel in the middle feels a bit like Praga in terms of choosing what kind of action you're going to do, and a little bit like Shipyard. And then the outcome part feels, I don't know, like he doesn't really have a contract fulfillment game per se. Maybe a little bit like Last Will. I don't know. You can definitely see that it is in league with the other kinds of games Vladimir Suchy creates, but it does feel different from them in interesting and significant ways. I really liked it. I'm looking forward to playing it again, and it's definitely staying in my collection. So that's Woodcraft from Delicious Games, I think published in the US by Rio Grande, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so I recently got a chance to dust off a game that I haven't played since Origins 2017, and this is New York Slice. New York Slice is by Jeffrey Allers, and it is a re-theme of an older game that was apparently about pie. So instead of slicing sweet dessert pies, you're now slicing savory pizza pies. And what you're trying to do is you play a number of rounds equal to the number of players, and the player, when it's your turn as the active player, the divider, you're going to set out this pizza. It's 11 slices, and each slice has a variety of different toppings on it. You're going to divide that pizza up into a number of sections equal to the number of players, and then everybody takes one section of the pizza. It is possible through a couple of the different game actions for there to be zero pieces of pizza left when it comes down around to the original divider, but that's uncommon. When you take the pizza slices, they become part of your collection, and essentially what you're doing is you're trying to have the most of each type of pizza. So if you have the most slices of sausage of anybody at the table at the end of the game, you score for sausage. And they have that for each different kind of pizza. If you can at any time, or no, when you take a piece of slice, you can choose to eat it instead of putting it in your collection. If you eat it, then you get 1 point for every pepperoni that was on that pizza slice. At the end of the game, there is one slice that has 3 anchovies on it. If you have that slice, you lose points. And that's kind of it. It is a I pick, you choose mechanism. It is somewhat limiting in that when you put the pizza out, you don't get to divide the sections up however you want. You lay the pizza out and then you have to cut it into slices based on where they came out. Now, this is really important because otherwise the game would be interminably long. People would take forever trying to decide what organization to do, because if you got to rearrange the 11 slices however you want, it would be very complex. Instead, you have to use the pieces as they are situated in the pizza itself, meaning that you aren't always going to find a great combination, and sometimes you'll make sections that are clearly better than others, but that's the challenge. I don't recall for sure, because last time I played this was in 2017, but I think at the time I probably said something like, this game is fine, I'm not all that excited about it. There are other games that I like better that use a push your luck mechanism or an I split you choose mechanism. I really like Mammut for that style of game. And so while I'll happily play New York Slice, if someone brings it out, it's not probably a game I'm gonna pursue to own or ask to play myself. And I stand by that. Now, if that's not what I said before, well, you can go back and listen. I'll put links to the previous episode in the show notes. So finally, the third game that I tried anew that I want to talk about today is Letter Jam. I am not going to try to explain Letter Jam on an audio podcast. It is shockingly complicated to explain. Suffice it to say, it is a group game where you have a word in front of you that you can't see, and everybody else has words in front of them that you can see but they can't. People take turns building words using the letters that are in the market and the letters that people have in front of them on the table. The goal of the group is to have everybody figure out what their individual words are. And we get points as a group if everybody figures out their words. Explaining it in more detail would not be worthwhile because it's difficult to teach even if you have the game in front of you. It's very difficult to teach if you're just listening to an audio podcast and hoping you'll understand it. Let me say though, it is really interesting and it fits the Codenames just one kind of approach pretty well. It is more complex than both of those. It's probably on par with Decrypto if you're thinking about a word game, except Decrypto is in teams and in Letter Jam it's cooperative. I really liked it. I'd be happily play it again. I noticed it's available on Board Game Arena now, so I think I'm going to see if I can get a couple games of it going there. Overall, really interesting, and I'm glad I got to try it. That said, not for the faint of heart. Really a little on the complicated side too, and if you're going to teach it to people, I would strongly recommend practicing explaining it because it feels like it's going to be a bear to teach. So those are 3 new games I tried and 1 game I dusted off. What games have you tried lately? Head over to Board Game Geek Guild 3269 and let me know there. You can email me, Brendan@rattleboxgames.com, or send me a direct message. Wombat929 is my username on Board Game Geek. If you want to play a game with me, I'm on Board Game Arena and yukata.de, also as Wombat929. I'd love to play with you in either of those places. Thanks for joining me on my walk today. I hope your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.